Okay, brilliant. Thank you everybody for coming this evening. Seeing as I thought about 10 of you would turn up, I'm pleased most of you made the effort. I know some of you are missing the football to come here, so I appreciate you making the effort to come here. Obviously, Harrow Leisure Centre doesn't have access to microphones or anything like that, so if you can't hear me, shout at me or throw your tea at me and I'll try to speak a little bit louder. Neil, the fitness manager, might be taking a few photos. Harrow Leisure Centre has never had an event that has done so well, so he obviously wants to make sure that everyone knows about it. If you don't want to be in those photos, just make sure you speak to Neil at the end. If you do need to dash off early, I probably will shout at you as you leave, but just make sure you go out the back and around there. Okay. So, who the hell am I? I'm Daniel Harrod. That is me. I'm a personal trainer. I work in there, and despite me looking as if I'm about 16, I promise you I'm not. I am actually 28, and I have been doing this for about 5 years now. And I mainly help people do this. Okay. And today we are going to be talking about how to win at fat loss, how to lose fat and keep it off. Okay. So we're going to be delving into nutrition, maybe the do's and don'ts of nutrition. We're going to be talking about training, what you should be doing in the gym and maybe what you should be avoiding in the gym. We're going to be talking about mindset and how maybe the psychology of fat loss is maybe even more important than the physiology. And encapsulated within that, we're going to talk about methods for long-term success, so rather than the 3-4 week diets that maybe you're all used to. I know you're all going to be taking notes and bring up pads of paper. Trust me, you don't need to do that. There'll be an opportunity to receive everything we talk about at the end, but I'll talk through that. And then hopefully, after I've imparted loads of wisdom onto you, you'll be nice and kind and hopefully be able to ask me lots of lovely, nice, easy questions for me to answer. Okay? So, let's start with a little story. Is this you? You stand in front of the mirror, you notice your jeans are a bit tight. You step on the scales, you put on a few pounds, and you're not happy. So, you decide to go on a diet. Yep, this is it. Once and for all, I'm going to lose all that weight. I'm going to look like I did when I was 21, drop 10 sizes, 10 dress sizes, and I'm going to be back to my best. So, you start to eat healthily. So, you cut out all the chocolate, the crisps, the sweets, the snacks, everything that you know is bad for you. And you decide you're going to eat really healthily. You're going to eat all the vegetables, all the kale, and all those things like goji berries, and this is going to be it, once and for all. You're going to go to the gym 6 times a week, you're going to pound away on that treadmill for an hour every time, and yes, this is the time that you're going to lose all that weight. And it starts off well. First week, you lose 4 pounds. Perfect. Second week, third week, you lose another 2 pounds. Fourth and fifth week, that's when it starts to happen. You get a little bit fed up, okay? Things aren't coming off as easily. The lure of that chocolate cake is starting to become a little bit more prominent, and getting to the gym is just that little bit more of an effort, okay? And all in all, you just become a little bit fed up. That piece of chocolate cake soon becomes a whole chocolate cake, a whole pack of biscuits, a whole crisps, and not only have you put on all the weight that you lost initially, but you are now worse off than when you first started. How do we lose body fat? How do we keep it off as well? And that is what we are going to be talking about today. So, before we delve into nutrition, before we delve into training, the number one thing that I want you to remember whenever you are trying to lose body fat, the number one thing that you should prioritize is adherence. You need to choose a process or method that you can stick to. And I don't mean stick to for 3 weeks, 6 weeks, or even 12 weeks. I mean 6 months, 12 months, 2-3 years. Okay? Because if you cannot stick to whatever you have chosen to do, you will not succeed. When it comes to fat loss...
This is a staff announcement. Can we have car share to reception? That's car share to reception, please. Thank you.
When it comes to fat loss, everything works. Low carb, high carb, the paleo diet, the ketogenic diet, the 5-2, intermittent fasting, All of it works. The only problem is that people cannot stick to what they are doing. And if you cannot stick to what you are doing, you will end up back at square one and even worse off than you started. How to win at fat loss. Step 1, choose a method that is sustainable. Something that you can stick to for a long period of time. That all-important question. Do I want to lose weight or do I want to lose fat? I'm sure the majority of you in here have at some point said, I need to lose 5 kilos. I would like to weigh 70 kilos. I want to weigh what I did when I was 21. Okay? Weight loss does not equate to fat loss. Okay? If you step on the scales and those scales are 2 pounds down, that does not mean you have lost body fat. Similarly, if you step on the scales and they're 2 pounds up, that does not necessarily mean you have put on body fat. Okay? Weight is a combination of your bones, your muscles, your stomach content, your bowel content, what you had for dinner last night, which is why your weight can fluctuate from day to day, from week to week. You need to be focusing on fat loss, not weight loss. And by fat loss, I mean your body shape. Okay, so you need to be looking in the mirror and see how you're looking. You need to be taking measurements. You need to be taking photos. You need to be looking in the mirror. Okay, because fat loss is going to be what that figure that you want to have, not the number on the scales. How to win at fat loss. Step 2, focus on fat loss, not weight loss, not the number on the scales. So, how do we lose body fat? Us as humans expend energy throughout the day. Okay, so we are constantly burning calories. So we have got a few things that make up the calories that we burn throughout the day. So we have got something called our BMR, which is our basic metabolic rate. That is all the calories that you burn when you are resting. So you sitting here listening to me talk, you're still burning calories now. When you're asleep, you're still burning calories. Okay? We've also then got something called NEAT, and that is all the movement that you do that isn't exercise. So, walking, housework, fidgeting, picking your nose, all those things also burn calories. We've then also got something called EAT, which ironically stands for exercise and is actually everything that you do in the gym. So whenever you go to the gym, you are also going to be burning calories. And then we've also got something called the thermic effect of food. So when you eat and digest food, you are also burning calories. All of those things added up create something called your total daily energy expenditure. How many calories you are burning throughout the day. On the flip side of that, we also need to consume energy, okay? And we do that through calories, through food. Now, if you have an intake of energy, so if you consume more calories than you are burning throughout the whole of the day, you are going to be in a calorie surplus, and you are therefore going to, I know it says weight, but for the purpose of this talk, you are going to gain body fat. If you are consuming more than you are expending, you're going to gain body fat. If you have an intake of energy, so if you consume less calories than you are burning throughout the day, you are in a calorie deficit, and you will therefore lose body fat. If you are not in a calorie deficit, you will not lose body fat. How to win at fat loss. Step 3, create that calorie deficit. So, how are we going to create that calorie deficit? We're going to move on to nutrition. Can you out-train a bad diet? Okay? You can do all the work that you want in the gym, But if your diet and your food is not creating that calorie deficit, you will not lose body fat. You have to get out the mindset that you need to get out the mindset that you are exercising the fat off. You need to let your nutrition and diet handle the fat burning side of things. So, you need to work out how many calories you are currently consuming. How are you going to do that? The best way that you are going to do that is by keeping a food diary. A food diary is the single best thing that you can do to work out the quality of the food that you are having and also the quantity of foods that you are having. So, let's play a game. I want you to tell me which food item has more calories. So, we've got a nice, delicious 36-gram bar of dairy milk compared to a nice, healthy 75-gram bowl of granola. Put your right hand up if you think the dairy milk has more calories. Put your left hand up if you think the granola has more calories. Okay, I can see who my clients are. The dairy milk, 192 calories. Fine, fair enough. That healthy bowl of granola, 336 calories. Let's try again. 333 milliliter can of Coke. Fair enough. Or a 150 milliliter bottle of innocent smoothie. Put your right hand up if you think the Coke has more calories. Put your left hand up if you think the innocent smoothie has more calories. We're learning answers. That can of Coke, 140 calories. That innocent smoothie, 210 calories. That is why it is so important you need to keep a food diary. Because when you say to yourself, you know what, I'm going to be super healthy today, I'm going to lose quite a bit of weight, I'm not going to have my dairy milk and can of Coke, I'm going to have a bowl of granola and innocent smoothie, little do you know that you are actually now consuming more calories than you were before. As we've now learnt, if you are consuming more calories than you are expending, you are not going to lose body fat. So, you need to work out your required calorie deficit. So you're going to keep that food diary for approximately 2 or 3 weeks. Okay? If your average, for example, is coming out at 2,500 calories, you then need to drop those calories slightly. Okay? And I say slightly because A, you need to make sure that you are sticking to this for a long term. And B, if you go from 2,500 calories to 1,000 calories, which is what most people tend to do, A, they're going to get fed up, they're going to get hungry, they're going to get miserable. And when your body starts to say, you know what, I don't want to lose any more body fat, you don't have any more calories to drop. You need to make sure that calorie deficit is slowly but surely. So, once you've worked out your calories, we can move on to something called macronutrients. And you may have heard of these as carbohydrates, fat, and protein. Now, I'd just like to interject by making a very important point. None of these food groups, and no specific foods within these groups, are the sole reason for fat gain. Carbohydrates don't make you fat. Fat doesn't make you fat. And especially protein doesn't make you fat. Bread doesn't make you fat. Sugar doesn't make you fat. Chocolate, sweets, crisps on their own are not the sole reason for fat gain. Fat gain comes when your total calorie intake is more than your energy expenditure. So when Sally from work says, I'm going to go on a diet, I'm going to cut out all the bread, okay, because bread is obviously bad for you, and then when she comes back in 5 weeks' time and says, yep, I've lost 10 kilos, everyone's like, oh my God, bread is the devil, we're no longer going to have bread, bread is the reason that everybody gets fat. No. The reason that Sally lost her weight was because she dropped her calories. Thus meaning, you can have pretty much whatever food you like as long as you are within your calorie budget. Now, how to win at fat loss step 4 I want you to make sure that you are prioritizing protein at every opportunity you can. Protein being meat, fish, eggs, whey protein. For the vegetarians in here, corn, tofu, beans, other legumes, okay? You need to make sure that you are prioritizing protein at every meal. Protein is going to keep you fuller for longer, so you're not going to be snacking. It's going to curb those cravings that you're going to have. And protein, the digestive rate of protein is also more than carbohydrates and fat, meaning it's going to burn more calories than if you were to consume carbs or fat. So at every meal, you need to make sure you are prioritizing protein. How to win at fat loss, step 5. Remember at the beginning when I said everybody cuts out the crisp, the chocolate and everything? You will feel deprived when you do that, and as I'm sure the majority of you know, you cannot sustain that. And it's only a matter of weeks before that one piece of chocolate cake becomes a whole chocolate cake. So, if you have worked out your calorie goal, you have then worked out how much protein you are having, and I've just remembered, to work out how much protein you should be having, a general rule of thumb is 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if you weigh 70 kilos, that's approximately 140 pounds, you should be aiming for about 140 grams of protein every day. Okay, back to this. So once you've worked out your calories and how much protein you should be having, you can then almost fit the foods that you really want to have into your diet. Because if you are still in that calorie deficit, you are still going to lose body fat. Now, of course, I'm not saying just have dairy milks, just have cans of Coke. Of course, I'm not saying that. Which is why we like to apply the 80-20 rule, which is 80% of the time, or 80% of the week, you need to be prioritizing those nutritious, protein-packed foods. Once you've done that, 20% of the time, you're allowed to have foods that you would actually quite enjoy, if you can fit them into your calorie budget. And if you allow yourself that dairy milk once a week, you are more likely to stick to your diet for a long period of time. Little nutrition recap. Step 1, choose a method that is sustainable, something that you can stick to for a long period of time. Step 2, focus on fat loss, not weight loss, not the number on the scales. Step 3, create that calorie deficit. If you want to lose body fat, you need to be in an energy or calorie deficit. Step 4, prioritize protein at every single meal that you have. And step 5, exhibit some form of flexibility within your diet, and 80% of the time prioritize those nutritious, healthy, protein-packed foods, but 20% of the time allow yourself foods that you would actually quite enjoy having. You are then more likely to stick to what you are doing. Okay, if you've got any additional questions, you can ask me at the end. Training. The gym, at the end. The gym. What should we be doing in the gym? Whenever you step foot inside there, your number one goal should be to build and preserve as much muscle mass as possible. Okay? Why do we need more muscle? More muscle will lead to an improved metabolic rate. So, the more calories you are going to be burning throughout the day. More muscle, or every time you go to the gym and prioritize building muscle, you are going to exhibit something called the afterburn effect. And as cliche as it may sound, it is actually a thing. And that means that in the hours after you leave the gym, you are going to be burning an elevated level of calories. More muscle is also going to improve something called your nutrient partitioning. That is basically the food that you eat is going to be stored as muscle as opposed to fat. And obviously when you want to eat, you don't want to store it as body fat. More muscle is also going to lead to that defined and lean look. So when you see that person on the other side of the gym and you think, hey, they actually look quite good, I want to look like them, that's not because they have done anything special. They simply have more muscle and less body fat. More muscle is also going to lead to improved strength. The stronger you are, the less likely you are to suck at life. Okay, so you're going to be able to carry the shopping in. You're going to be able to climb the stairs without getting out of breath. You're going to be able to help move the furniture. Okay, more muscle is also going to lead to more strength. So, how are we going to build and preserve as much muscle mass as possible? By lifting weights. Exactly. If we are lifting weights, that means we are going to have to minimize the amount of cardio that we are doing. I'm sure most of you have heard or currently do. You hop onto that treadmill and you think, yes, I'm going to run, I'm going to cycle, I'm going to row all that body fat off. As we know, cardio is not going to build muscle. The more muscle you have, as for those reasons I just said, the better position you are going to be to lose that body fat. Okay? And cardio, the second point I was going to make, for you to burn 300 to 400 calories just doing cardio, you are going to need to be on that treadmill for about 50 minutes to an hour. It is not the most time-effective way of burning calories. I'm not saying cardio is bad, and I'm not saying never do it, but you should be minimizing the amount that you are doing and always prioritizing lifting weights. When it comes to lifting weights, we need to always apply the rule of progressive overload. And progressive overload simply means doing more over time. So, if in week 1 you decide you're going to do a shoulder press, and you're going to do that for 8 repetitions, okay? And when I say lift weights, I don't mean grab those 2 kilogram dumbbells and start doing 20 repetitions of that. That's not what I mean. You need to be choosing a rep range and really pushing yourself so you almost fail towards the end of that rep range. Okay? So say you're going to do that shoulder press, you're going to do it for 8 repetitions, you're going to choose 6 kilogram dumbbells for week 1. Great, you've done that. Week 2, you then need to do 7 kilogram dumbbells. Week 3, you then need to do 8 kilogram dumbbells. You need to be doing more over time. And that doesn't necessarily mean always lifting more weight. You could also add in a couple more repetitions or add in a couple more sets, but the principle is there. You need to be doing more each week over time in order to get stronger and build muscle. But Daniel, if I lift weights, I'm going to get big and bulky and look like one of those bodybuilders on the stage. Trust me, I wish it was that easy. Okay, I wish you could go into the gym, do a couple of bicep curls and get arms the size of boulders. I've been trying for about 10 years, it doesn't work. Okay? You will not get big and bulky. Muscle, pound for pound, is actually smaller than body fat. So the more muscle you have and less body fat you have, the smaller you are going to be. So do not fear lifting weights. You're not going to suddenly turn into one of those bodybuilders. Okay, Daniel, I want to lose body fat around my stomach, so I'm just going to do loads of those sit-ups. No. You cannot choose a specific body part with a specific exercise to lose body fat. So doing 100 sit-ups won't help you lose fat around your stomach. Doing 100 of those tricep extensions won't help you lose fat around your arms. Doing 100 of these things, whatever you like to call them, won't help you lose fat around your thighs. Okay? You need to prioritize getting strong, building muscle all over, and then in turn, you will lose body fat from those areas that you want. Not necessarily directly related to lifting weights, but remember I talked about that total daily energy expenditure at the beginning, and we had something called NEAT. That can account for up to 70% of the calories that you burn for some people throughout the day. So you need to prioritize moving as much as possible. So get up from your desk every half an hour, go for a walk. You need to get off the bus stop stop earlier and make sure you're going for a walk. You need to be as active as possible throughout the day, and that is also going to be a better way of burning calories. training recap, build and preserve muscle by getting stronger through lifting weights. And step 8, you need to make sure you are moving as much as possible. Okay, last little section we're going to talk about. Mindset. Okay? The psychology of fat loss is more important than the physiology. You can be doing everything right in the gym or at home with your food, but if your head is not in the right place, you are not going to succeed. Most people, when they try to lose body fat, they rely on motivation and willpower. So week 1, motivation is an all-time high. Yes, this is it. This is going to be the one time that I'm going to lose all that body fat. Week 2, week 3, week 4 pass, and that motivation starts to wane a little bit. People get a little bit fed up. The lure of that chocolate cake is a little bit too much, and before they know it, they're back to square one. Your motivation also fluctuates up and down. So when you hit a low point with that motivation, you are going to give in to those temptations, or you're going to sack off the gym. So you need to put yourself in a position where you are not relying on just motivation and willpower. The best way to do that is to change your habits. The habits are the things that you do without even thinking about it. So when you wake up in the morning, you brush your teeth without thinking about it, you make your cup of tea without thinking about it. Even if you can't be bothered to do those things, you still do them. So the same principle applies. If you are demotivated, but have set yourself up for success, you don't have to rely on motivation, you will put yourself in a better position to lose body fat. So, one of those things that you can do is to change your environment. Your environment being the situations and circumstances that you find yourself in every day that pose a difficulty or a temptation for you to maybe fall off the wagon. So, at home, for example, you're sitting in front of the TV, it's 9 o'clock in the evening, and you know that you've got a pack of chocolate biscuits in the cupboard. And you say to yourself, no, I'm not going to have it. 5 minutes pass, 10 minutes pass, 20 minutes later you've had the chocolate biscuits. Okay? Now, if those chocolate biscuits were not in the cupboard in the first place, you are not going to have them. Yeah? You are not going to put your shoes on, put your coat on, drive to the shops, go out and buy just one pack of biscuits, come back and start eating them. You're just not going to do it. So you need to make sure the foods that you know that you cannot say no to are not in your house. If they're not there, you are not going to have them. Similarly, at the office, when you're sitting down at your desk and someone says, yep, should we go out for lunch today? And you're like, oh, I know I shouldn't, but I don't have anything to do. And then you go out, you buy a pack of crisps, a sandwich, and a fizzy drink. 500 calories later, and you're well and truly off the wagon. If you had changed your environment, so if you had prepared and planned a meal and brought it in, so it was sitting on your desk, you would not have to think about whether you were going out for lunch with other people. You could then say, no, I've got my own lunch here. And even if you really wanted to go, your environment is there that you don't have to think about it, you don't have to give in to those temptations, your meal is already there. And similarly, the journeys that you take. If you're on the way home from work and you're going to pass a corner shop or the fish and chip shop and you know that the temptation is going to be too much, don't go that route home. Okay? Choose a different route, because if you don't see that shop or if you don't see that newsagents with all those chocolate biscuits, you're not going to go in. Okay? You need to set your environment up for success so you do not give in to those temptations. Patience. I don't know if you can see that. It says, I wish I was as thin as my patient. How many times do you start a diet and you've been healthy for 3 days, you've been so good, you then step on the scales or whatever, nothing's happened, I give up, I'm going back. Right, see you nodding. Fat loss does not happen in days. It doesn't even happen in weeks. It happens when you are in a calorie deficit over a prolonged period of time. If you'd have just held on for just a week longer than those 3 days, you probably would have lost a little bit of body fat or even a little bit of weight. Okay? you need to make sure you are being patient. The quicker you lose the fat, the quicker you're going to put it on. It should be a slow and steady race, which is why you need to exhibit a certain degree of patience. Similarly, you also need to be consistent with whatever you are doing. So, if in week 1 you are going to try the 5-2 diet, nothing happens. Week 2 you're going to try intermittent fasting. Week 3 you're going to try the paleo diet. Okay? You are not giving your body enough time to adapt to what you are doing. Similarly, in the gym, 1 week you're going to try CrossFit. The next week you're going to try just a normal strength-based program. Nothing happens, so you're going to try Zumba, which you obviously would never do. But you are not giving your body enough time to adapt to what you are doing. Okay? You need to make sure you are consistent over a prolonged period of time. How to win at fat loss. Step 1, choose something that is sustainable. Something that you can stick to for a prolonged period of time. Step 2, focus on fat loss, not the number on the scales. Step 3, create that calorie deficit. You need to be burning more calories than you are bringing in. If you are not in a calorie deficit, you are not going to lose body fat. Step 4, prioritize protein at every single meal that you can. Step 5, don't deprive yourself, exhibit a little bit of flexibility, and also adhere to that 80-20 rule. So 80% of the time, you're going to be prioritizing those nutrient-rich, protein-packed, healthy foods. But 20% of your time, allow yourself the foods that you would actually quite like to have, as long as they fit into your calorie budget. Step 6, when you're in the gym, build and preserve as much muscle by getting stronger through lifting weights in the gym. Step 7, move as much as possible, okay? Get those 10,000 steps in a day. Make sure you're getting up from your desk. Do as much housework or whatever. Just make sure you are moving as much as possible throughout the day. Step 8, change your habits. Do not rely on motivation and willpower to succeed. If you set yourself up for success by changing your habits, so when you are feeling demotivated, you will put yourself in a better position to lose body fat. Step 9, change your environment. Okay, so change your things at home. Don't buy those foods that you know you can't say no to. Plan and prepare your meals so when you're at work, you don't have to wonder what you're going to be having. And step 3, I don't know why I said that, journey. Make sure that you don't pass or are giving in to temptations of things that you know with the routes that you are taking, whether that be on the way to picking up your kids up from school or from work. And you also need to be exhibiting a certain degree of patience and consistency. Fat loss happens over a prolonged period of time. Not weeks, not even months. It happens over years. Thank you. Before we get on to any questions or anything like that, I want you to do me a quick favour. If you all get out your phones, don't check the football score while you're there. If you open up your internet browser, some of you may already have done this, my clients being one. And if you open up your internet browser, go to www.danielharrod.com. You will come to this page here. Now, if you see this button here, it says download your free ebook, How to Win at Fat Loss here. If you click on that, you will be taken to this page. If you scroll down, if you enter your name and email address, you will receive a free ebook on everything that I have talked about today. Okay, you will have to confirm your subscription. And it may go to your junk email if it doesn't come through straight away, so just make sure you check that. If it also doesn't come through, maybe just check back in a couple of hours. But if you receive, if you enter your email address, etc., you will receive everything that we've talked about today. Thank you very much for listening. What questions do you have for me, if you have any, and please be nice. Yes?
What's the
So, what is the average calorie loss that you should be aiming for? So, as long as you are in a slight and gradual calorie deficit, so if you've worked out that you are consuming approximately 2,500 calories, even if you reduce that by 200 or 300, you're still in a deficit, you're still going to lose body fat. So the smaller adjustments that you can make, the more sustainable that is going to be. So as long as you're in a calorie deficit, even if you reduce it by 100 or 200 calories, you're still hopefully going to lose body fat. Does that make sense? The average person, it's hard to say. It's going to depend on your age, your gender, how much muscle mass you are holding. Okay? You're going to have to work out how many calories you are consuming by keeping a food diary. Okay? There are formulas that do it, but I find them so ineffective that it's just not going to be the best way to work out for you. It's almost impossible to say what the average person is. Okay? Does that make sense? Yeah. Yes? Yes. So protein shakes is the question. Yes. So should you be taking protein shakes? Whey protein is one of the most well-researched and documented supplements out there, and it is probably the best supplement that you can take. There are no real bad side effects to it, and just one scoop of whey protein is going to give you approximately 25 grams of protein. I get all my clients to have some form of whey protein. It doesn't matter when you take it, it doesn't matter how you take it, you can have it as a shake, you can put it in your yogurt. I would recommend having whey protein if you can. Make sense? Great. Yes?
Any ways or anything you can do to increase your metabolism rate?
To increase your metabolism. Lifting weights, okay, and building more muscle. So remember when I said building muscle is going to improve your metabolic rate, so that is going to improve your metabolism. Improving your sleep, okay, de-stressing. Everything to make sure that you are putting your body in a healthy, nutritious position. Even things like walking and burning calories that way. Okay, does that make sense? Yes? Any more? Yep.
How do you find out when you are losing fat or fat loss? How do you find out?
It's a good question. There isn't a definitive way. So the three things that I do for my clients are measurements. Okay, so whether you're on your body. The second way is photos. So seeing how you look, and I suppose that relates into also the clothes that you're wearing. If they're suddenly feeling a little bit looser, you know that you are going to be losing body fat. Those are the three methods that I use. There are some scans and things that you can also have that will show you how much body fat you can lose, but those are the three most effective ways that I found. Okay? Yeah? Yes?
Great stuff. So
Pleasure.
just a few clarifications.
Oh, we've got a piece of paper in here.
Yes. When you're repeatedly talking about prioritizing protein, does
Yes.
that mean increasing the intake of protein?
Yes.
And how much is too much? Like, based on...
Okay, so yes, increase your protein as much as you can.
Okay.
In the grand scheme of things, there is no such thing as too much protein. Yes, you may have heard that protein is bad for your kidneys and what have you. That's recently been found to be a myth, okay? And trust me, you're going to have a hell of a lot of protein to even reach those levels, okay? So yeah, get your protein up as high as possible.
Okay, sure. And then when we're comparing chocolate versus cereal, like, or Coke versus smoothie.
Yes?
Yes, calories for calories, it means that it's not good.
Of
But
course.
It's still giving you like the one and five, like
Absolutely.
It was quality over quantity.
Absolutely. So your first port of call should be quality. So yes, you should be prioritizing lower calorie foods. However, I'm not saying have dairy milks and cans of Cokes. Okay? There are obviously other health benefits and factors that play into part from having fruit, vegetables, etc., which is also where that 80-20 rule comes into play. Prioritize those foods first, and then you can have other foods that you like. So yes, quantity first, but also prioritize quality as well.
Okay.
Okay?
The last point would
Yes.
be when you say move more, something that equals to doing more cardio, right?
Walking, okay?
Like cardio outside of the gym.
Yes, yeah. Steps,
Like the actual gym time should be used to maximize like muscle gain.
absolutely, okay? When you are outside of the gym, walk, move, etc., that is how you're going to burn your calories. Whenever you're in the gym, you need to be lifting weights and building muscle. Got 3 more questions, and then we'll call it there.
At the center here, what classes do you have to help us or guide us in building muscle mass or lifting weight?
Classes probably aren't the best for building muscle, okay? So I would advise booking in with one of the instructors here and getting them to show you a few exercises in the gym, okay? The problem with classes is that they're not applying that principle of progressive overload. So you're still going to be lifting the same weights in week 1 as you are in week 8, okay? You're not going to be building muscle, okay? And the technique and everything is not the best. So find somebody to show you some of the best exercises in the gym, okay? Yes?
Like in gym session,
Yes?
how do you categorize using the comfortable or not?
Yeah.
Muscle, start with how do you
So within a session, okay. I'm not saying never do cardio. Yes, cardio has benefits just beyond fat loss. Obviously your aerobic health and everything, and cardiovascular health, cardio is beneficial. When it comes to fat loss, shove it to the side. Okay, you do not need to do it. Not until much, much, much later down the line when you've hit a plateau or you're at a much advanced level when you're trying to hit lower levels of body fat. Okay? So you need to base the whole of your session around lifting weights. Okay? And that could be full body workouts, that can be upper body workouts, that can be lower body workouts, but that should be the bulk of your session. Make sense? Yes? 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 Muscle building. Okay? Always going to be muscle building, is going to bump your better. Yes? Yeah. Okay, that is why you need to be lifting weights. Last question. Yes? Okay, so how soon after a workout should you be having something to eat? About 5-10 years ago, there was the big furore over, you need to be having it literally as soon as you step outside the gym, okay? You can probably get away with 2 to 3 hours, okay? There's no real rush to get it in. Yes, it's preferable to have it as soon after a workout as possible, but if you can't do it for 2 or 3 hours, don't stress, you're gonna be fine. Okay? Great. If you've got any other questions, come up to me at the end. Otherwise, thank you so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it. Download the ebook. I'll be around. Thank you. Bye-bye.